Today I want to discuss new gameplay of game Exodus, the Exodus or Exodus. It is a game developed by I forgot the name of the studio, but there are lots of veterans from BioWare, including Drew Karpyshyn, who was a main narrative person to create plot for Mass Effect 1 and 2, and of course Knights of the Old Republic. He also wrote many books, fantasy and science fiction books. So he's, and he probably even worked on Neverwinter Nights 1 plot and narration. So he's famous from these works, but probably his best works are about Knights of the Old Republic 1, Mass Effect 1 and 2. And this new game Exodus will be released in early 2027, so we see that there is like approximately 6, 7, 8 months until publishing it. And we can watch on YouTube extended gameplay from the game. And I want to focus on I think many issues this game, unfortunately for me, have, even though this is a clone or a copy of a style like Mass Effect trilogy. So it's an RPG game, but with fight as Gears of War. So action fighting is really like Borderlands or Gears of War, but the narration, the plot, the crew, the NPCs are much more developed, like in classic hardcore role-playing games, like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and 3, for example. So this game, but this game for me, but I also see that for many other people has unfortunately many worrying issues, many worrying problems. The first one, maybe the most important one, is that the faces, the animations of the characters are too bizarre, too uncanny. They are not like our faces, like normal faces of humans. They mostly they are like if someone watched Ice Age animation movies. So these characters look like characters from that series of movies, and this is not good. This is not good because they are doing many like different kind of face language which is not natural. For example, I have a little bit of this because I'm a disabled person, and my brain was moderately or lightly damaged, and for example my facial expressions sometimes are a little bit off, a little bit weird. But in this gameplay we see that characters look, and they look too generic like. So they all look very skinny, uh, like models who are not really models. So they look beautiful, they want to be beautiful, they want to be cute, they want to be pompous, they want to be pathetic in a good way, of course, but it's the reversal of this. Why? Because they all look almost the same. The model, the main body type looks almost looks the same. So the models, of course, they have like beard or some kind of the differences between each other. Women are a little bit thinner, but nevertheless the models look very much like one model changed a little bit, and they look very generic. For example, we have another game, the Expanse of Series Reborn, also like Mass Effect, being produced by OLCAT Studio. So the OLCAT Studio is known for example, for Pathfinder games, and models there, even though I have also some issues with them, look but they look better. They look better than models in Exodus. Uh, Models in Exodus, they look because they want to copy the Mass Effect trilogy, the Mass Effect style, but the style of Mass Effect games, the models here specifically, is far more better because they are far more natural. When they open their mouth, of course, they look not as advanced because, for example, Mass Effect 1 was published in 2006 on consoles and then later on computers. So it is a game which has right now 20, almost 20 years old, or probably is 20 years old. Uh, Mass Effect 2 was from 2010, Mass Effect 3 from 2012, and of course the third part looks the best, and they got like a remaster edition, but still we see that these are the games and the models from the past, but even then they look better than models and characters, and they have more natural face expressions. They look more natural, like human beings. uh, and for example, in Mass Effect, of course, in Mass Effect, you don't have specifically ugly people or fat people, but for example, you have characters like Elcors or characters like Volus. Volus are very short, and they wear pressure suits. And they are rather small, and they have a very significant belly, almost like a fat belly. So they are really ugly, but nevertheless their style is very precise. We know why they are like that, and they still look okay. They still look good. They don't even still look okay. They still look good. We have Elcors who are like a combination of elephant and rhino, and they are rather ugly, yes, but they look. Uh, when you saw them in 2006 Mass Effect, they looked really cool. The idea of because there was of course the idea that Elcors needs to show needs to tell how emotions are they right now, because you cannot discern it from their facial expressions. For example, in Mass Effect 3, we had like Asari matriarchs destroyed and deformed by the Reapers in form of a banshee, and they look really ugly with fat belly, and they look old, but nevertheless they had their own unique style, and it was cool about it. And here we see that all these characters, they look like made with an AI generator. Like no, like person didn't focus much about their creation. And we are talking about main characters. For example, the main character is called June, and I'm not sure if it is like June, the month we are here right now, like the first month of the summer, or maybe it's like June, like from Korean characters. But the name of the character is so bizarre, so stupid, that I'm really not sure what parts of the plot was Drew Karpyshyn idea, because we almost know nothing about the plot of the game, specifically the plot of this game. We know that we are in the far future, in the cluster where humans evolved, and they are now like awakened, and they are other beings a little below these celestial beings, but the plot is really uncanny for me, because it's too, and we see this in the gameplay. For example, the gameplay is looks like a little bit better Mass Effect Andromeda, and Mass Effect Andromeda was the worst of Mass Effect games. We have 4 Mass Effect games right now, and Mass Effect Andromeda was the worst because they created it on a Frostbite engine not prepared for RPG games, and they focused much more on fighting, on shooting, than on character development, the plot, the narration. And nobody plays Mass Effect because of the shooting, because of the killing, because of the gameplay. Everybody loves Mass Effect because of its original plot, of its really unique characters. For me, Mass Effect trilogy is the best games ever. I'm a real fan of Mass Effect trilogy. You can see behind me the poster of Liara Tsoni. So one of the main characters of trilogy, and we can romance her. So for me, Mass Effect is a really important franchise. Maybe that Mass Effect games are really the best games in our moderate times, because they are the least infantile of all games, and the character development is really unmatched, really. Maybe in some of the movies, of course, because movies are far more advanced in that you can produce even better characters. But here in computer games, they are unmatched. You cannot forget Garus, you cannot forget Tali, you cannot forget Javik, the only Prothean from Mass Effect 3. They are all you cannot forget Saren Arterius from Mass Effect 1, and even secondary or tertiary characters, NPCs are memorable. And here I see that these characters, for example, we have a scene when they are drinking. They are drinking and they are tossing the bottle of some liquid between them, and and one of the characters is, for example, with some kind of a open helmet, and it looked really not 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 properly implemented in the specific time of what was happening on the screen. And unfortunately for me, characters were traveling through many caverns, like closed locations, tiny closed locations, or closed locations, and it looked almost like better Warframe or better Andromeda. And the art style is really bad. Art style is, I would say, something almost like maybe a little bit better Dragon Age Veilguard. The art style is too much like Mass Effect Andromeda. It's too much. And I'm really worried because because we have like 3 or 4 veterans, very advanced programmists, including Drew Karpyshyn as a narrative person. I'm not sure if he's a narrative director, and they knew that Mass Effect Andromeda was a flop. It was the worst of Mass Effect games, and they still decided to choose this weird style when you are looking for remnants, like in Mass Effect Andromeda, where you are looking for some kind of an ancient civilizations which diminished in time or through the ages of time. It really looks almost like the beginning of Andromeda. And the plot in Mass Effect Andromeda was really bad. I didn't play the whole Andromeda. I was too bored. But what I heard from the reviews, it was really boring. It was really boring looking for this artifact, these remnants. It sounds okay. It sounds interesting, but it was completely not interesting. Completely not interesting. And. And right now we have maybe like 7 months till release, and they, for example, they have this idea which for me is I saw comments that for some people it was really okay, but for me it's completely not okay that we have animals who can talk like humans. So they didn't do the hard work to invent other races, because we are in a far future of the galaxy, and they didn't include other races as your companions or as NPCs. and but they implemented the animals who are awakened, and because of that they are almost as smart as a normal human being. And you have, for example, companion called Salt, very stupid name for an octopus, but you have an octopus in a mech which can be your companion. What a goofy, bizarre, stupid idea. It looks like almost like some kind of weird anime movies. It's really uncanny and unsettling that someone as advanced and as good as Drew Karpyshyn, who worked on Baldur's Gate 2, I think, even, and Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights 1, Dragon Age Origins, they were all Mass Effect 1 and 2 plot, characters, ideas. They were top notch RPG games. But BioWare still, even though they produced flops like Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem, and Dragon Age Vanguard, for me they are still the leaders of the RPG genre. Even though CD Projekt and his Witcher series sold more copies, Baldur's Gate 3, great success, much more copies than all BioWare RPG games. Still, BioWare is the leader because they were the first. They were the first to create such advanced role-playing games. Baldur's Gate 3 is Baldur's Gate 3 because Larian created third part, and first part and second they were created by BioWare. So the graphic is really unsettling because I think it's for 2027 it's too primitive. The art style is too silly, too primitive, too goofy, too medicore to be serious triple A game. Really, and it's really bizarre because what they have been creating this game for like what 7-8 years, and the improvement from Mass Effect games is almost non-existing because it looks almost like a little bit better Andromeda, and the characters, the facial animations, the expressions are worse than in Mass Effect trilogy. They even look worse than Mass Effect 1. And the worst part is that they completely not focused almost on the dialogue. We have one advanced dialogue at the end of this gameplay, but it's almost like only evil, only good, only pathetic, or only pompous good, or only pompous bad. In for example, in advanced dialogues in Mass Effect, you didn't have only two options, good and bad. You had almost like 6, 7, 8 options: neutral, good, bad, but also something between that. And here you have two options: do that bad, do that good. And the dialogue is too almost like Marvel. I'm really afraid what is the more advanced dialogues, including important parts of the game, the main quest, the main narration. I'm really afraid because what we have seen so far, there are rather banter dialogues or very normal dialogues about, for example, the environment of the cave or the cavern or some artifacts being next to our characters, and we didn't see the proper dialogue. Maybe the last one from the gameplay is proper important, that dialogue, but it's still too silly, too goofy. The dialogues in Borderlands were better because and Borderlands is silly, goofy game focused on killing wicked and bizarre enemies, not being very serious about itself, and it is aware of this. But Exodus, and they have been telling us this for years, it will be grounded, very serious, no humor, but this seriousness is really infantile. It's silly. It's stupid. Angry Joe did game reaction on this game, and Alex was afraid that the dialogue is really not on par on what we should expect. And Joe was also he was pretty he got pretty vibes from it, but he also focused on faces, on a little bit on graphic. So even though his review or his reaction is rather positive, even he and his colleagues were afraid of some aspects of the game. And for example, I think they focused too much on fighting, too much, and even the enemies look so generic. They they look like worse ugly Malfite. We have a hero in League of Legends, very good game. I advise you to check it. Very famous game. We have a hero, Golem Malfite. But Malfite looks cool, looks really okay, and he has some really good skins, like most characters in League of Legends. But these characters are like ugly Malfites, like Malfite which was not finished properly, or not finished at all, or is more primitive version of Malfite. And also the idea that the animals can be bartenders, or they can be merchants, and you can talk with them like with no. It's really silly that, for example, we saw in this gameplay an elephant which is a merchant of souvenirs, and it looks really stupid. Because in Mass Effect, for example, I have cute bad bitches like Asari, which I can discuss. They have cute voices, cute bodies, and I really feel okay and cool that I can talk with them. And here they have an elephant. They have an elephant which I can talk with. I have a cool bad bitches which I can romance in Mass Effect series, including lap dance from one of the crew members, one of the crew members in Mass Effect 2, and here I have a companion, Salt the Octopus, or we have this character a little bit like Android, I think, which is cranky, cute, want to be cute girl. If you want to create a cute character, she or he, uh, the best way to create a cute character which you think is cute is not to make him acting very cute, because it completely destroy the vibe that you have a cute character or you have a cute discussion. There is nothing worse than people who want to be cute on purpose. And here you have this bizarre looking, like with big eyes, unnatural big eyes, which wants to talk in a cute way. But even this Asari from Mass Effect Andromeda, which was also wanting to be cute, and she was not really cute. She wanted to be cute, but this character from the Exodus is even worse, because she looks bizarre. She moves really like a robot, but like a robot from first Star Wars movies, like R2D2 or C3PO. Like C3PO, of course, because she's a humanoid. Uh, and so the facial expressions, the models, the art style, uh, even the weapon, because you will not have different types of weapons, but your weapon can be modified. And for me, it's also laziness. Yeah, and I see laziness in Mass Effect. You had pistols, you had shotguns, you had assault rifles, you had snipers, and you have even later no, and you have also grenades. and they have such unique modifications that nothing was the same. And you of course have Omni tools and tech tools for your tech engineer and characters like Biotics. And here you have one weapon modified by different gadgets or different gears. And for me it's laziness. It's laziness. And the plot and the dialogue seems really like Marvel ones. I'm really not sure what Drew was doing when he was producing this game. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe if the full release will be released, full game will be released, we saw this potential in the plot and so on. But for example, when I saw for the first time Mass Effect 1 in 2006 on my friend's Xbox 360, I knew already that I really wanted to have an Xbox and play this game. Because Mass Effect 1 was published on PCs 1 year later. And the first 15-20 like minutes of this game was like, oh my god, I need to have this game, I need to buy this game. And it was really unique because we didn't have, and still we don't have many sci-fi RPGs. We have Deus Ex franchise, but we don't have sci-fi space opera RPGs. It's only KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, and really Mass Effect series. Maybe we can add that to this Deus Ex, okay, but not much more, because fantasy RPG games are mostly fantasy games. So the facial expressions, the voice acting is okay. It's not bad. It's not really good. It's okay. But if you want to do another Mass Effect, you want to do it better than Mass Effect, or at least at the same level. And right now, voice acting is not on the same level. The voice acting in Mass Effect is one of the best I have ever seen and heard in games. Maybe only Vampire: The Masquerade Redemption had better dialogues and better voice acting, but it is a very old game from 2000. It's really why they didn't hear characters like they are speaking in, for example, Vampire: The Masquerade Redemption, Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines. Characters in Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines, when you see the dialogue option, when you have this specific scene with dialogues, the faces look better than in this game. And Mass Effect and Vampire Bloodlines is a game from 2004. And it's still faces, animations, dialogue, voice acting looks and feels better. So you want to do Andromeda like Mass Effect, which was the only Mass Effect game which was a real flop for BioWare. A real flop. It was the worst of Mass Effect games. And you are focusing on creating Mass Effect Andromeda. The worst game of the series. And the graphic, I would say it's not as advanced as I would expect. Because for me, honestly, the graphic in Mass Effect 2 and in Mass Effect 3 looks better than in Exodus. It looks better. The game also feels like the main hub, the main city, looks also like inspired by Anthem style. The game has a little bit like Warframe style, a little bit like Mass Effect Andromeda style, and also a little bit like Anthem style. And it is not good. It is not good because Anthem style, the graphic was really okay, it was really advanced, but the style was too generic, too like, okay, create some green, some deep vistas, and that's it. So really, I'm afraid that they were doing a game for 7 years, and it will be far worse than Mass Effect. For example, in Mass Effect series, characters are the almost the most important part, next only to the main plot. And the characters were really cool. They were really look like badass. When you, for example, see this animation, this for Mass Effect 2, you see the companions fighting with something, and they are on this trailer. So they are the true badasses in a physical way, in a brutal way, but also in a spiritual way, in an intellectual way. And here these characters, they look, all of them look the same. All of them look, they didn't have their own uniqueness. And I also discern that they almost non-existing in combat. Because, for example, in combat, in Mass Effect, especially 1, but even 2 and 3, you see that your characters, even though do less damage than you, they use their abilities sometimes even better than you. And their inclusion in fighting is really important, and they could die. So I'm hoping that there will be no the situation of the Dragon Age Veilguard, that they will do 1 damage and they cannot die. So why do you have these companions? In, for example, in Mass Effect 1, when you have Tali, which is an engineer class, and you have Liara like Biotic, they could use their abilities that Geth were flying like 30 meters high. It looked really super cool. It looked really super cool when Tali was doing her engineer tricks, and Geth were frying themselves, or they couldn't shoot, or they were just stumbling and stuttering and something like that. It looked really cool. And here, I think the gameplay is too fast, a little bit too fast, like almost like like in Borderlands 3, where gameplay was really was really good. The graphic was really good, but because of this Unreal Engine 5, you couldn't. There was like a mist layer on everything. And everything was flashing so much that you cannot see anything. And here in Exodus, there is not much flash. The game is really grounded. It's really dark. You don't have much flash like popping your eyes effects, but this layer of mist is a little bit everywhere. So everything is a little bit like transparent, not very realistic, and not very discernible. So you cannot focus on something specifically. So I'm really afraid, and the music is, I would say that the music is the best part, but it is still worse than in Mass Effect, because Angry Joe said that it is almost like in Mass Effect 1. I cannot agree on that. I think that Mass Effect 1 music was really unique, was really like a little bit like 80s music and so on. Here it's too generic, too like done by some kind of AI tricks and so on. So I'm really afraid of this, because they have only like 6, 7, 8 months, and everything in this game, unfortunately, gives me a bad vibes. Graphic style, characters, and the dialogue, and the lack of the dialogue. For example, we had some options to discuss with our friends, but only sometimes 2 options or sometimes 3 options, and they were like short sentences. It really looked, and these sentences were like, I'm also afraid if you can play like a bad badass, like a renegade, because of course most players were playing like a paragon in Mass Effect series, but you can play like a renegade, and a real evil renegade. And here you are like evil, but you're like a little bit like overpowered and over the top character, not a real evil character. And the same problem was, of course, in Dragon Age Veilguard, unfortunately for us. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this gameplay. You can watch it on YouTube. It's almost like 20 minutes. And of course, they made a mistake that the voice of the narration was too you cannot hear it. You couldn't hear almost the guy which was narrating what will happen in the game. So it was another mistake, but maybe not as important as other factors. Let me know in the comments, what do you specifically think about this game? What do you liked in this game? What you didn't like in this game? And if there is a chance that this game can be as good as Mass Effect Trilogy.